everyone, my name is Clodagh Scannell. I'm a registered dietitian and I work in the oncology unit in the Mercy University Hospital down in Cork. I'm also a PhD researcher in the area of cancer and nutrition, and I work with the Clinical Nutrition and Oncology Research Group, which is based out of UCC. And today, on behalf of Cushnora, I'm here to present on kind of eating well after cancer. So cancer, I suppose, it's not a one size fits all, and the information in this video is very general oncology audience. So the information should not precede, I suppose, any information that you've been given by your oncology team who know you personally. So the information for this video, I suppose, where did we get it? So there's two organisations, they're the World Cancer Research Fund and the American Institute for Cancer Research, and every couple of years they come together. It's a whole load of scientists, lots of universities all across the world involved, and what they do is they sit down, they look at all the new studies, and I suppose they pull out what's important for cancer prevention in terms of cancer, I suppose, after cancer and kind of preventing cancer. So this video is, I suppose, it's intended for people who are maybe out the other side of their treatment and have been given maybe the all clear, or they've been told that they're in remission and they want to go about kind of living a healthier life to prevent recurrence. So there's 8 core recommendations that were recommended by the World Cancer Research Fund in their continuous update project, and I'm going to talk through the 8 recommendations here. So the first one is to be a healthy weight. So there's mounting evidence at the moment to suggest that being a healthy weight can reduce the risk of 12 cancers. So it's things like your cancers of the mouth, of the esophagus, of the gastrointestinal system, your liver, your stomach, your pancreas, your kidneys, prostate, endometrial, breast, pretty much all of them. And this is because, I suppose, fat cells act as a hormone pump, and if we have an excessive amount of them, it can lead to an increased cancer risk. And what they've I suppose stated now at the moment is that being overweight or being obese is the second biggest preventable cause of cancer. So the first one is smoking, as you probably would have guessed, and I think that's a really stark statistic. But being overweight or obese comes just after smoking in terms of cancer risk. So being a healthy weight is one of the best things we can do to prevent our cancer risk. If we had been going through treatment, we probably would have been told that we need to keep our weight steady, that it's not recommended to lose weight, even if you are overweight going through cancer treatment. But I suppose now that we're on the other end of it, now your priority can turn to losing weight. The second core recommendation then is being physically active, and this has, I suppose, a direct effect to cancers of kind of the bowel, the breast and the womb, but it also is indirectly linked to, as I said, being overweight or obese. So overweight or obese linked to 12 different cancers, but how do we prevent ourselves from being overweight or obese is we engage in physical activity. So being physically active is indirectly linked to 12 different cancer types. And with exercise, I suppose the benefits cannot be reproduced. It's not something that you can take in tablet form, take as a shot or whatever. It needs to be something that's done. And the general guidelines from Healthy Ireland is kind of 150 minutes per week, broken down to, say 30 minutes, 5 days a week. But what the evidence is actually showing at the moment is that we can get the benefit from about 10 minutes of exercise. So if you think of it, you could leave your home, walk 5 minutes, turn around and walk back, and you're still getting good benefit. If we're just coming, I suppose, to the end of our treatment and we want to start, starting slow is the best way to do it. You know, you're not going to I suppose, finish this video and go out and run a marathon. That's not realistic. So starting slow, and you'll know what's best suited for yourself. Speak to your oncology team and get help to get advice. The third core recommendation then is to limit consumption of fast foods and other kind of processed foods that are high in fat, starches, and sugars. And the reason for this is not because of the foods itself. I mean, you can consume them in moderation, but if we're consuming these foods on the regular all the time, what's going to happen? We're going to gain weight. So it's indirectly linked to 12 different cancers. So as I said, being overweight and being obese can cause 12 different cancers. So these kinds of foods, if we consume them too much, will cause the weight gain, and we're not getting any nutritional benefit from them. So they don't tend to be foods that are high in protein or high in minerals and vitamins and antioxidants and all those other kind of good nutritional markers. Again, if these are foods that we consume on the regular, maybe starting with maybe a small, achievable, realistic goal, ask to speak to a dietitian. They can help you come up with some goals. But if you sit down in the evening and you have 6 biscuits, maybe having 5 for a week, and maybe having 4, or maybe having 3 the week after, and just breaking it down like that, you'll know yourself. If it's something that you do quite quickly, it might not be sustainable. The next one then, I suppose, coming after that is eating a diet that's rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and all those kind of foods that we know to be good for us. So these foods are really high in fibre. So fibre has been linked to bowel cancer. So fibre is very closely linked with the gut. So I suppose the experts say kind of 25 to 30 grams of fibre a day. And if you're not familiar with fibre, you don't really know what that is. That kind of breaks down into maybe 5 to 7 portions of fruits and vegetables a day. So a portion of fruit and vegetables is essentially something that you can put into the palm of your hand. So be that an apple, handful of berries, maybe a handful of veggies, or a couple of carrots, stalks of broccoli, etc. And look, you might not finish this, you might not have any vegetables in your diet now, and you're not going to finish this video and have 5 to 7, but even increasing it by maybe 1 or 2 pieces a day can be really beneficial. They say to kind of limit, I suppose, unprocessed grains. So white varieties of, say, breads, rices, pasta. So these foods are white because they've been processed and the fibre has been removed. So when we have the fibre in these foods, it's the brown kind. So the brown rices, the brown pastas, those kind of foods. So we would encourage people to have them more often than the other kind. And here I just have a nice little visual. I've actually taken it from the Canadians, and it's kind of a dinner plate and how we should maybe plan our meals. So it could be, say, a dinner plate, a smaller lunch plate, or a bowl. And essentially half of your meal should be full with fruits and with vegetables. That's a really good way to make sure that you get the 5 to 7 portions a day. So be that your dinner, having some carrots and broccoli, having some peas, or maybe you're having a bowl of porridge in the morning, having bananas and berries and things like that with that as well. Then a quarter of your plate should be filled with your protein source. So that's things like your eggs, your peas, your beans, your lentils, fish, meat and poultries. That's where you're getting your protein from. Your protein is the building blocks of your muscle. And then the last quarter then should be your carbohydrate source. So it's something like your 2 slices of bread, 2 medium-sized potatoes, a cup of rice, a cup of pasta. And look, that's just a nice way to plan your day. The next core recommendation then is to limit your consumption of red meat and to avoid processed meat. So there's been a lot of emerging evidence at the moment with regards to kind of red meat and processed meat. So processed meat is things like say ham, bacon, sausages, chorizo, pepperoni, salamis, hot dogs, all those kinds of foods that are really salty, really high in fat and have been processed. And then your red meat is things like your lamb, your beef, your pork. So with this, what happens is when we cook red meat, there's a compound in it called heme, and when we cook that to really high temperatures, it has the potential to turn into a carcinogenic compound. And then with the processed meat, we add compounds called nitrites and nitrates because that helps to preserve the meat. And again, when we cook these, they can have this kind of carcinogenic effect. So with the red meat, they say potentially 1 to 2 a week maximum. But with the processed meat, they say that it's kind of best avoided, very little, if any. And these kind of foods, particularly the processed meat, as I said, they're really high in fat. So if we're consuming them on the regular, it can contribute to weight gain. And as we spoke about earlier, being overweight is linked to 12 different cancers. So this is just a diagram that I've taken from Cancer Research. It's an organisation in the UK, and it's just, I suppose, to show how they classify different compounds and their carcinogenic effect. So group 1 is something that causes cancer, and you can see that this is where the processed meat lies. So your salamis, your bacon, your sausages, hot dogs. This has been given a group 1 classification, which means it causes cancer. But then red meat then, 2A, is down in your probably causes cancer subsection. So there's two different categories here, so it's just something to be mindful of. So how can we cut back? I suppose if you're someone who consumes meat regularly, this does not include, I suppose, your chicken, your fish, turkey, all those kinds of foods. It's just the kind of the red varieties. So fish then I suppose it has is a really healthy alternative. So if we have maybe cardiovascular issues, they actually recommend to have oily fish twice a week. So that's things like your salmon, your herring, your trout or your mackerel. And then if we don't have maybe cardiovascular issues, maybe just once a week is fine. We could bulk up our dishes. So if you're having a spaghetti bolognese with maybe some minced meat, maybe reducing the amount of meat that actually goes into the dish and instead adding maybe onions or mushrooms or maybe some kind of kidney bean or a pulse or a lentil or any other kinds of vegetables, that you're still having the same amount of food, but the composition is very different. Some people go for kind of a meat-free Monday as a way to reduce down the amount of meat that they're eating. Eating smaller portions, as I said, is a really good idea. There's lots of new emerging foods on the market now, so things like turkey sausages and turkey puddings and chicken sausages that we could maybe do a kind of a healthier swap there. The next thing I'm going to touch on is to limit alcohol consumption. So there's really convincing evidence that alcohol has been linked to cancers of kind of the mouth, the pharynx, the larynx, which are kind of at the back of the throat, your esophagus, breast, bowel, liver and stomach. And I think it's important to say that with regards to cancer prevention and cancer recurrence, there's no safe level that is recommended. So your risk of cancer increases the more that you drink, with all types of alcohol being the same. So be that kind of a cider, a beer, a wine, some kind of spirit. So the risk with regards to cancer is all the same. And just some statistics then for you, I suppose, kind of 1 drink per day increases your risk of breast cancer kind of by 9%. And if we're having kind of 3 to 6 drinks per day, it increases your risk of breast cancer by up to 41%. So there's no safe level that's recommended. And you might have heard potentially, oh, red wine is good for you and everything in moderation. And I suppose that's with regards to just maybe healthy living in general. But when we're thinking of cancer in particular, there's no safe level recommended. So if we are a big drinker or we consume alcohol quite regularly, cutting down can be really helpful. So the limits in Ireland at the moment are 17 units per week for men and 11 units per week for women, with just remembering that there's 2 units in a pint. With these limits then, they're just a guide, they're not a target, they're not something that you should be trying to reach and then I suppose delighted that you don't reach it. With alcohol, as I said, there's no safe limit. It's something that we should be really cutting back on as much as we can. And then you might have heard of alcohol as referred to kind of liquid calories. So there's no nutritional value in them other than the energy that you're getting. And if we're consuming, I suppose, alcohol quite regularly, it can contribute to weight gain. And as we've touched on before, being overweight, being obese has been linked to 12 different cancers. The next core recommendation then is to limit the consumption of sugar sweetened beverages. So again, it's nothing to do with the sugar or the sweetened beverage. So these are things like your 7-Up, your Cokes, your energy drinks. But it's if we consume them on the regular, they're really high in sugar and they can contribute to weight gain, which is linked to 12 different types of cancers, and you're getting no nutritional benefit from them. So I've included a diagram here which shows, I suppose, the different amounts of sugar in each of the different varieties of drink. So you can see there your Coke is lots of sugar cubes up the front of it, and then your Diet Cokes and your Coke Zeros have none, and that's because they use a sweetener. So in these drinks it's a sweetener called aspartame. There's been a lot of talk, I suppose, about aspartame in the media recently with regards to cancer risk, and I suppose all we know at the moment is that once we consume it within the safe recommended levels, it should not increase our cancer risk. So the levels that you would consume by having a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero are nowhere near the levels that would cause concern. But what we do know is that consuming the full sugar varieties is linked to cancer risk and increasing overweight and obese. The last one then is supplements. So the World Cancer Research Fund do not recommend supplements to protect against cancer. So these are things like your multivitamin, maybe high doses of vitamin C, vitamin B, E. I've kind of seen it all in practice at the moment. And with supplements, they're essentially just very heavily marketed to make you believe that you need them to dramatically improve your health. But supplements cannot mask, I suppose, a poor diet. So if you're not following any of the 7 other recommendations, taking a multivitamin or taking a supplement isn't going to undo, I suppose, the damage that we're doing in other regards. So unless you have a proven deficiency, so if you've gone to your doctor, you've gotten a blood test, you've spoken with them, you've been recommended something by a dietitian, other than that, we don't really need supplements, and they're not going to protect us against cancer. We should be getting our minerals and vitamins from fruits and vegetables, because here the minerals and vitamins are incorporated into kind of a complex food matrix that cannot be reproduced by supplement companies. So getting your vitamins, your minerals from food is far superior. In saying that, so if you have a proven deficiency, yes, you should be taking a supplement. And to be honest, with the way the weather is in Ireland at the moment, everyone should probably be taking a vitamin D supplement. But other than that, it's not going to increase or influence your cancer risk. So what is a healthy diet then, and what should we be doing to prevent cancer recurrence or to prevent cancer? So a healthy diet is when you incorporate the 8 recommendations that I've just spoke about into daily living. As I said, everything in moderation, so too much of anything can be a bad thing, except maybe for alcohol. As we said, there's no safe limit there. But your body is really complex, and it needs lots of different dietary components to make sure that all the wheels are turning and it's doing its job correctly. So here is, I suppose, a diagram of the food pyramid. You may have seen this before. If not, it's available on the Healthy Ireland website. And it's just how we should be planning our meals and our day. So the foods that are at the bottom of the pyramid are the things that we need the most of, and the things that are up at the top are the things we need the least of. That's why they take up the smallest space. So you can see there 5 to 7 portions of vegetables a day, and that's because we need those vitamins and those minerals. So a portion is something that you can fit into the palm of your hand. Then the next shelf is your whole grains, cereals, bread, rice, pastas, because they've lots of fibre in them. Fibre has been linked to a reduced bowel cancer risk. So we need 3 to 5 servings in that, depending on whether you're a male or female, the activity that you do, and your age. So a portion is there is, like, say, 2 medium-sized potatoes or 2 slices of bread. The next shelf then is your milk, your cheese, your yogurts. So if we're trying to lose weight, I would say that maybe going for the low fat varieties of these, because with the low fat, you're still getting the same amount of calcium and the same amount of protein, but it's just less fat. So they're probably the best ones to go for once we've finished up our treatment and our priority is to weight loss. Meat, poultry, fish and eggs, beans and nuts is the next shelf. So that's your protein shelf. We should be trying to be incorporating protein into all our meals. Fats, oils and spreads then use sparingly, so in cooking, or maybe a little bit of butter on a slice of bread, something like mayonnaise, etc. And then the foods that are high in fat, sugar and salt, they're kind of detached from the pyramid because we don't actually need them for good living. And as I spoke before, these foods are really high in calories, which is the energy we get from food, and if we consume them too regularly, it's going to cause weight gain, which has been linked to 12 different types of cancers. So a team of dietitians which I work with in the University College Cork have devised a cookbook, and it's called Healthy Eating for Cancer Survivors. And what they've done is they've taken all these 8 core recommendations and they've put it into an evidence-based cookbook. So there's things like soups, salads, kind of light meals, main meals, side dishes, and they're all calorie controlled. They're low in fat, they're low in sugar, and they're really high in fibre. So we've produced this with a team of dietitians, a consultant medical oncologist, and it was kindly sponsored by Breakthrough Cancer Research. So if you are interested in this, it's available for free online on the Breakthrough Cancer Research website.